right, we've got another question here. David, what's your question for the Minister? Thanks for coming along.
Thank you very much, Paul. I wrote my question down because I didn't want to do a Joe Biden, so...
That's all right, you're not going to fall up the stairs.
Before I ask my question, Mr Dutton, I think Australia owes you a great depth of gratitude for your dogged determination in all sorts of areas, and it's not just defence, it's in your pursuit of getting rid of criminals that have been domiciled in this country, to get rid of them, get them out of Australia. We don't need them here, and thank you so much for doing what you did.
Thank you very much. Let's get your question.
Okay. I was born in Brisbane and have grown up here, but in all my years I've never ever known the vast number of seemingly intelligent people who seem to have been completely swayed and sucked in by the green mad left Labor and the Climate 200 fake independents, egged on by a biased left-wing media, particularly the taxpayer-funded ABC. So my questions are, why do you think that the lefties appear to have demonstrably taken over the political agenda in Australia and are well on track to ruin the fantastic place Australia is now, as we know it? And finally, do you believe that the Conservatives could have done and should have done much more to counteract them? Thank you.
Good on you, Dave.
Well, mate, thank you very much for your question. I think there is a lot that the silent majority need to continue to do, and all of those in their millions around the country, I think now more than ever need to speak up. And the trouble is, for our support base, they're small business people. They're out working, and of a night time they're doing the books and putting kids to bed and dealing with the realities of life. They're families, young families who are running kids around to sport, and they're not involved in the day-to-day political exchange that you might see on Twitter or Facebook, and they're not, they just don't have the time to be online warriors the way that the left does. Many of the union movement, those involved in that movement now are activists, and they've influenced the institutions in our country, not just the universities, but now, as you say, the media. Many boardrooms in the country now are pursuing woke agendas in a way that they weren't even 5 or 10 years ago. So for all of us, I think we've got to stand up for the values that are important to us. And that's why I think sometimes the polling is not as accurate as what, I think is the reality on the ground. And the media, particularly the ABC and Fairfax and my favourite, The Guardian, they want to continue to tell you how to think and what's not acceptable to think. But I can tell you, Australians are much smarter than that. And I think these things ebb and flow, and I think everything in life is a cycle. And you're punching holes through much of the agenda on the issues that you're talking about now. And people are speaking frankly, and they will in this election. At pre-polling now, people are voting. Now is the opportunity to say no to a lot of the agenda that you've spoken about, and to say no to a Labor Greens government that would take our country even further in the direction that you're worried about. I'm concerned about inflation and interest rates. I'm concerned about national security and where our country will be and our region will be in the next 5, 10, 15 years. And the decisions that we make over the course of the next 3 years, I think will change the course of the future of this country. We have decisions to make in national security and in the defence space that I think will put us in a much stronger position. Labor really has the opportunity to do that, but they won't, and they don't. And we need to be a strong country, not a weak one. We need a strong leader in Scott Morrison. You might not like every aspect of Scott, and that was true of John Howard. It was true of Tony Abbott. And if you're looking for the perfect Prime Minister, you will never find that person. But Scott is a strong leader, and when you look at Anthony Albanese, I mean, even today, he's been bullied by the unions overnight. He's announced a policy on the run today which will result in higher inflation in our country and therefore higher interest rates. And the families and small businesses of our country will wear the burden of that. So think very carefully about what path our country will take at the next election, because there is a lot at stake.
Absolutely.